All right, everybody. We're going to get ready to move on to steps 8 and 9 with Terry. Terry's an individual that until an hour ago I hadn't met, but he was. I saw his name around a lot, and I called him and I listened to him, and he was on the mouths of some other people who had described their experience with him, and those people I highly admire. And much like Calvin, you could just see the willingness to be a part of, and the willingness to, part of it was the travel, right? He's coming down from Yonkers, and it's not right around the corner, and it was, when it was cool because when we sent the flyer out, I had people reach out around this area that were excited. And that made me just kind of confirm something, that when I was inspired to invite the people that we invited to be a part of this, right? It started, because there's some doubt, right? I don't know this individual, and it always has worked out so beautifully, and I know that's how this one is, because. Yeah, man, he carries a beautiful message, and he's going to be speaking on 8 and 9. Terry.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me all right? Mic check 1, 2. I'm a little under the weather coming off a cold, so put that down there. Just want to say thank you, Darren, for inviting me here. And it is definitely a privilege to be here, and an honor to be with everybody, and so many familiar faces, and this is just a beautiful moment in my life. Thank you. I'm speechless. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Terry. I'm an alcoholic, and I have a sobriety date. It's June 1st, 2019, and a miracle happened on that day where the gift of desperation screamed louder than the craving that was beyond my mental control. I didn't quit drinking. I was separated from drinking. I have a home group. My home group is Bailey's group. We meet Friday nights at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I also have a sponsor, and I sponsor other men, and I have a beautiful relationship with God today because of this step that I'm going to talk about, these 2 steps. These are transformational steps. And this is the ultimate surrender step. And I needed parental supervision during this step. And Mike D was my parental supervisor at that time. When the 3rd time I went through the steps. But I remember, these are kind of old stomping grounds for me. I used to come down to Atlantic City a lot. And I do want to talk about the last few moments of before I got sober. And I was purposely trying to drink myself to death. I didn't want to live anymore. I couldn't stay stopped. I was waking up every single morning begging God, why are you keeping me alive? I mean, I'm trying to take myself out, and I keep waking up. And God, he's a funny cat, man. He sends messengers and messengers all the time to us. It's just the receiver is blocked. And thank God for alcohol. It beat the poop out of me to the point that I became open-minded. And I bump into this kid, and I had open heart surgery because of drinking and using the white witch. You guys can put 2 and 2 together with that. And I met this kid. He was 20 years old. He had his shirt off. He had the same open heart surgery scar that I did. I get out of the car. He's in AA. I'm in AA, and he's drunk on my way to the liquor store. And I thought I was the youngest person ever to drink, and after having open heart surgery, but there was a kid there, he's 20 years old, he had 14 strokes before his open heart surgery, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not alone, And I checked myself voluntarily into a rehab, and I went into Minnesota, and I was introduced to the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and guys, I didn't want to pick it up because I thought it was too big. I was like, screw that thing, right? And then I opened it up, it said, there is a solution. Right? We have a way out, everybody. We have a way up and we have a way out. And you're not going to like it either. Right? I have what is called ADD, alcoholic defiance disorder. I've literally resisted everything, until I had immense pain. I can't teach you pain. I can't teach you in a state of being surrendered. I can't teach any of that. That's an experience you have to have by yourself. I mean, I was just talking about fear of speaking. I mean, I was just talking to my friend about it. I'm not afraid to come up here and speak. I remember the last time I was in New York City, and I spoke at this meeting, and Phoebe invited me, and I'm trembling. I was like, I'm scared poopus to share. And I look over, and it's just that mental anxiety, that minion in our head, the narrative in our head, the thinker that's in my head that's talking to me all the time, and I believe that these thoughts are real. And I remember watch, ask, discuss, turn. I turn over to my friend, and I said, hey, I'm super scared about speaking. She's like, why? Everybody's just thinking about themselves right now. And ever since then, I lost this fear of, right? This fear of people and of economic insecurity. Fear of is self-manufactured. Mike D taught me that. God didn't create the spirit of fear. It's all self-manufactured up here, in the minion up here. And when I got back to New York, I was on step 9, and I did 2 amends, and I was amazed. I didn't have parental supervision. This is the first time I had gone through the steps. I self-willed my way through the first half of my amends. And I was amazed, and I said I was done. It's easy to let up on a program of action and rest on our laurels. Right? It's simple, but it's not easy. A price has to be paid that meant the destruction of self-centeredness. And then destruction in the 1930s meant to take apart piece by piece by piece. And they need to take apart piece by piece by piece the self-centeredness with action and with God's help. So what happened? And I remember, this is a fun story. Why not? Let's talk about it. I went to a detox with these big book guys. Right before I was about 6 months sober. I had the obsession was relieved in the 5th step. Right? It says the drink problem will disappear. It happened. I gave a thorough inventory. I ripped that mask off, right, in the 5th step, and I laid it all out there, and God evaporated it, right? And I felt that those promises that we're talking about on page 75, I felt that, I experienced that. But here's the deal: a spiritual experience has an expiration date. I have to grow and maintain the spiritual experience. What happens is I balked on it. I listened to the story that was in my head. I was scared. I was afraid. I was listening to the narrative that was in my head. And I went to this detox with these guys, and these are big book guys. And they were all drug addicts there, and I found it necessary to tell my drug addict story. And afterwards, I'm eating dinner with these 2 guys, and the guy looks over at me, straight eyeball to eyeball. And he says, Terry, I'm concerned you're not a real alcoholic. That's what he said to me. By the way, don't let anyone read your big book for you. Period. If you see yourself in the big book, if you look at the big book and it's a book of mirrors, welcome home. Right? And at first I was pissed off. That's the first reaction that I got. And then afterwards I'm driving home. You know what I said, John? I said, maybe he's right. Straight up. I said, maybe he's right. The obsession came back. I could taste tequila on my mouth. I had liquor in my home. I was serving it to my friends. I couldn't even walk past it. I told my wife, I'm dreaming about it. I'm thinking about drinking. She's scared of good old Alma, I remember. She's scared. And I remember calling up my sponsor. I said, hey, I'm thinking about drinking. He's like, did you make your amends? I'm like, what are you, Baby Yoda over there? How do you know I'm not making my amends? He's like, maybe you need to make your amends. And I was like, okay. And I remember sitting in the car, and I was trembling, just like Dr. Bob did when he was making his amends. I was trembling. I was looking at my phone, praying for the willingness to call my friend, reminding myself I'm willing to go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. I'm just saying this over and over and over again. And it was to my friend, who was part of my 8-step list. He got basically 8 types of amends that cover all amends, right? You have the business acquaintances and friends. You have the man we hated. You have most people owe money. You have criminal offenses. You have relationships or cheating. You have or other people involved where I go rob a bank with you and another person but I want to go make amends to that bank, but I can implicate them. Then you got much to do at home, and then there's people that pass away that we can't see. Right? But this was one for the man that I hated. You know? And I just thought about, this is the process that was going in my head. What is he going to say? I'm going to get offended by what he says. I'm going to drive to Connecticut to beat his tail because he said something I know that he's probably going to say because of past experiences I had with him, and blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah. And I remember I accidentally called him after 45 minutes, and he picked up the phone. He said, "Hey, Terry, where have you been? I miss you and I love you." You know, I had no idea that people had love and compassion for me. You know, it was the number one thing that a trend through my first round of amends. The feedback that I was given is that they were so happy that I wasn't killing myself anymore. They were so happy that I wasn't driving myself to the grave, a self-imposed crisis. Just like Donna said, shoulders back, right? Eyeball to eyeball. They saw that something was different. They saw it in my eyes, that fresh glow. My roots grasped new soils on a different footing. They saw the power of God working in and through me. They can't explain it. All they know is that this guy showed up and he's trying to make right the wrong of the wreckage that he caused because of selfishness and inconsiderate habits. Right then and there, I was rocketed right into the fourth dimension of existence. I couldn't even dream. I found out the two most important dates in my life. It's not my sobriety date. My sobriety date just measures how much time I had. It was the day I was born and the day I found out why. I believe that's from Mark Twain. And the day I found out why is to fit myself to be a maximum service to God and the people around me. Remember I talked to you about earlier how I was drinking myself to death and I kept waking up. Why am I keep waking up? That's why. To fit myself to be a maximum service to others and to God. Fit this workout, the mold, right? It's like I'm working out this new muscle inside of me. It's actually not new. It's always been there. It's been there since I was a little baby. This compassion muscle, this love muscle, this spiritual muscle. I had no idea that it was there. I mean, I thought I was psychotic. I literally thought I had no empathy for anyone. And all of a sudden, I'm making these approaches to individuals, and I start to care for them. I start to love them. I mean, I start to love people who are unlovable. That's witchcraft to me. Right? And I'm making all these approaches, and all of a sudden I started realizing, like, I'm not thinking about drinking. It's not whispering in my ear. I'm not fantasizing about it anymore. I'm not even dreaming about it. The obsession was removed. Like Mike D would say, I did the work, and God worked on me. That's what a relationship's all about. I really want to talk more about more of the recent stuff that I've been going through. You know, business acquaintances and friends. But recently I just started a new job working for the state, and I used to deliver pizzas. Yeah, I was a joy bringer, when I was delivering pizzas. I loved it. Imagine going from someone who is operating multiple health clubs to delivering pizzas, and I'm the happiest cat in the world. I couldn't understand that when I was in Minnesota, why millionaires were driving school buses. And why are you millionaires driving school buses? What's up with that? But they're happy as pie. What's up with that? I found out that when I chased recovery, material things chased me. I had it backwards. I was chasing material things. And bad things started to happen. So I had this thing, and this guy, he doesn't speak English, and he's a day worker, and what he was doing is he tried to get all the good tips, and I'm the guy that likes to get good tips. Right? And long story short, he said something negative about me. One day he said something negative to me. You know what I did? I'm going to destroy this guy's life. Yeah, the guy that you asked to come up here and speak was about to destroy someone's life 2 years ago, right? And you know what I did? I made his life a living hell. I almost tried getting him fired. I took every single good delivery from him. I mean, I made him want to quit. Literally wanted to quit, right? And then one day, and this was about, I forgot, this is 6 months ago, so not that long ago. 6 months ago, He got a really good delivery on Friday night, and I was angry. I was really, really angry. I have a belief system that I need money in order to live. That's deep down within me that I had no idea. I didn't have a step 6 experience because I wasn't aware of it. Right? Not until I wrote inventory on this, I became aware that I have this, what Mike says, aspect of character, right? A belief system, right? And like, how dare him? And you know what I did? I literally was walking to his car, and I was going to spit on this cat's car. Yeah, the guy that you invited from New York that drove down here was about to spit on someone's car 6 months ago, right? And I don't know, man. The power of God is wild. I literally was walking to this guy's car, and I got stuck in my tracks. I got dead in my tracks. When you think of it, in our 10th step, it says we continue to watch for the manifestations of self. It doesn't say we continue to listen to the manifestations of self, this anger. I'm listening to my resentments. I'm listening to my fear. I'm listening to my blah, 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 my self-pity. That's why we pause when agitated or doubtful. This gap will come in. The grace of God will come in, and I will have a God thought. And it said to turn. I don't know if it meant to turn around or it meant to call someone, but in that moment I turned. I didn't spit on that gentleman's car. The next day, I sat down with him. I asked my boss, I'm like, look, I'm edgy. I'm going to work in fear of going to work at a pizzeria, delivering pizzas. I'm in fear of doing this. I want to knock this cat out every single day. I want to quit. I'm disturbed. I am disturbed. This is all about becoming undisturbed. Because if I'm disturbed, what's going to happen is I'm going to walk around with this belief system, like Mark used to say, I'm walking around asleep, dreaming I'm awake, and I'm going to step on your toes, and you're going to retaliate, and then I'm going to get angry, and I'm going to say, how dare you, and then I'm going to go into self-pity, and I'll think, drink solution, drink answer. I know where that rabbit hole goes down, because based on my experience of bulking. Thank God for pain. Pain is the greatest teacher, is the greatest motivator. What it says in the 12 and 12 is the touchstone for all spiritual growth, I believe, right? I was in so much pain. I have two options. Either do the work or drink again. That's my step 1 experience. That's why I do. I don't do the steps to stay sober. I do the steps because I'm sober. I do the steps to have a conscious companionship with my Creator. And perhaps I've always had a conscious companionship with my Creator. I was just never aware of it. I finally woke up during the 12 steps, and when you get woken up, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back to this old way of living. I made a conscious decision to make amends, and I sat down with an interpreter who was my boss, and I told my boss exactly what to say to him. And he starts talking to him like, yo, bro, hold on, you sure you said that the right way? Right? And then all this little voice, I told you, it screamed when I got separated from alcohol. It screamed during that time. God consciousness will scream at moments when you don't even know it. I said, shut up. And the guy talked back, and he understood what I was trying to do. And I asked him, how can I make this right? And is there anything else I could do to make, or any other things I've done to you that I should know about? And he started to list a whole bunch of things that made me look like I was playing God at work. And through my experience, playing God doesn't work. My 3rd step decision is pretty clear, right? This decision is me turning my will and my life over to the care of God. It's a decision, but 4 through 9 is a commitment to that decision. I made a commitment, and I went back on it. And thank God I listened to God at that time. Now we're good friends. He's teaching me English. I was teaching him English. He was teaching me Spanish. This was an experience I had no idea. I wasn't disturbed at work anymore. I wasn't walking around heavy. I was light. I was treading lightly now. I want to talk about money a little bit. Another experience I had where other people are involved. Well, this was with Mike. This is my most recent amends. And I got a resentment towards my wife. I mean, she's a really good Al-Anon member. I mean, really good. She does a really good 10-step stuff. Brenda, whenever I'm wrong, she promptly admits it. Like, all the time. All the time. All the time. and I'm pissed off at my wife, right? And I thought making one amends to my wife in the beginning would solve all my problems. You know how many times I've made amends to her since? I don't even know, 20, 30, 40 times. But I was really angry at my wife. And that's how crazy it is, because I don't even remember why I was angry at her. That's how devastating. That's how resentment is literally, is poison. You don't even know what it is, right? And yeah, and I was so angry, and I asked God for help. I was like, hey, God, how can you help me? What can I do? How can I make an amend to my wife? I want to make this right. And he pops in an amend, a previous amend that I did not know about. I faked an injury at work. I got, this is with workers' comp. I had someone who was witnessing it. He's also in the program, and I pretended to fall down the stairs, right? And I got $50K. I got paid out. And it all went to the White Witch in 2 months, but I mean, in alcohol, it went quick. But long story short, I didn't remember that. I'm 5 years sober at this point, right? What's up with this, God? What do you say? How free do I want to be, right? It's crazy. So I had to pray on it. I had to talk to Mike about it. And he said to pray for the willingness to make the amend. And I remember, the 8th step, there's a prayer there. We pray for the willingness. He told me to pray in the morning, at night, and all throughout the day. So 3 times a day. Basically all the damn time. And I think the moment of grace that happens is when you have that willingness come out of nowhere. Right? It's wild. 8th step is super, super duper underrated step. And when that willingness comes, go. And I needed parental supervision, and thank God for Mike. And thank God for step 10 and 11 that he showed me these spiritual exercises that help me make every single one of my amends, right? Because I could tell you what happens if I didn't do this. If I'm not watching for the manifestations of self, I'm listening to it. What happens when I don't ask God to remove my fear about making this amend? The snowball becomes bigger. What happens if I don't turn my thoughts to someone I could help? Snowball becomes bigger. What happens if I'm not, love and tolerance is no longer my code. It's more like slander and gossip is my code. And now my snowball's bigger. No longer chilling in the place of neutrality. I'm in planet Pluto somewhere. Living in the future and the past. Snowball bigger. And what's going to happen, I'm going to have such a large separation from you, and I'm having such a large separation from God. All of a sudden, I have an insane thought come into my mind that's super subtle, right? It could be in a dream, too, which is wild. And I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to go take action on that and go drink. Either do the work or drink again. So I prayed for the willingness, and it came. And then I went to my friend who was there, who was part of it, because I could implicate him. He could go to jail. And I asked him about it. He said, "No way, I'm not going to jail for you." I'm like, yes, yes. I don't want to do this. And then I bring that back to my sponsor. He's like, "You ain't done. You ain't done. We're gonna figure out how you're gonna. There's a way to make an amends to every single one of your amends. There's a way. I just didn't like to hear it." So he said, "Why don't we donate that to the charity?" So we looked at charities, and there was a Wounded Warrior Project, and I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And then I got online for Wounded Warrior Project, got to the place where you put your credit card on there, right? And then I looked on it, and then shut the laptop. How free do I want to be? Right? 2 weeks later, what happens? Pain comes back. Separation comes back. I'm in conflict with you. I'm unhappy. I'm being pounced on by misery and depression. I'm like, oh snap, I gotta do the work. Go back on there, I put my credit card on there, and I've set up direct deposit payments for the next 47 years, $80 a month. And it's wild, because the next day I went to the store, and when you go to the store, and I don't know, it's kind of like being at a sober dance and everybody's untreated alcoholics. You ever been there? Kind of, you're too scared to dance with each other, right? It's like that. And then you see someone in the supermarket, and you know them from like high school or something. You're like, you do that little turn, and you see them, but you pretend not to see them. And I remember seeing someone from high school, I'm like, and I just went right up to them, shoulders up. Hey, how you doing? That fear of people and of economic insecurity left me. Right? There was this moment, some people cannot be seen. Here's another recent one. I gave outside substances to one of my friends in the OD 3 days later. And I did it was on my first original 8-step list. And I wrote it out, wrote a letter, blah, 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 check, done. I felt nothing. I'm delivering pizzas, man. This is pizza talk today, right? Some fond memories. And I'm delivering to this funeral home where I last saw him, Brenda. And I'm waiting for the guy to come down because I called him because they were upstairs. And it was the last time I actually physically saw his body. And Spirit moved me to that room. And I remember walking into that room and I made that amend there. And I said, I made the amend and what is my exact harm? And I said, how can I make this right? And this little voice, I can't explain it. It's like a whisper. I know it's I can't explain it. And it said, just stay sober and stay happy. And I'm in goosebumps right now. And I was rocketed into the fourth dimension existence in this funeral. And the guy comes down, I'm like glowing. I don't know what the hell happened, right? And I recommend anyone, if you know someone who has passed away and who you've harmed them, go to their gravesite or go to a place where you've had there's a monumental or you have significance, like a bench or a park or whatever, and make that amend there and get clear. You'll have a transformation of mind, body, and spirit. I mean, during COVID, I stopped making those amends, and this is one thing. I'll shut up. I don't know how much time do I have. Doesn't matter. Whatever God tells me to shut up. This was a monumental thing because I stopped doing those amends after my first time, and I was on fire, everybody. I was around people who you see in this audience, and my recovery was just taken to another level. I mean, I'm doing big book studies that I listen to people on the recording. I'm hanging out with these people all the time. I'm asking them a ton of questions. I became extremely the seeker of knowledge, you could say. I got drunk in knowledge, right? That's what happened during that time. And long story short, because of that, I stopped helping other people. I stopped practicing prayer and meditation in the morning. I stopped really practicing the disciplines of 10 and 11. I literally just kind of stopped doing the program because I was trying to study it, because I wanted to be this AA convention speaker. Right? I want you to like me, which is BS. That's another reason why I have no fear of talking today. I let God demonstrate through me what God could do. This ain't Terry talking. I'm just an instrument of God. I'm getting played all the time. Straight up. I'm being played. I'm here to play the role that God assigns. And I remember that moment where I was starting to feel edgy all the time. And I'm fighting with my wife every single morning. I mean, look what it says on page, 82, 83, about the dude that comes out of the cyclone cellar, right? And his home gone or whatever. And he's like, I don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing, right? I mean, I'm starting to fight with my wife every single night. Right? She's on my resentment inventory. I'm literally retaliating at her. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? I mean, I literally had sponsees calling me up. Like, Terry, I need some advice on that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like watching the game right now. I'm like, hey, dude, hold on 1 second. I got to go back. I got to talk to my wife real quick. And I would hang up the phone on them. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? I mean, I remember being online at a meeting and have my meeting shut off on Zoom. And I'm playing video games. And someone's fighting for their life. Talking about hurting themselves, talking about drinking it again. And I'm literally playing video games, John. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, I don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? Right? I mean, I'm in prayer, meditation. Hey, Cindy. Cindy, hi. Yeah. She got it. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? And prayer, meditation. Right? Come on, no. Let's check out Bitcoin and the first thing in the morning. What's up with Bitcoin? What's up with the news and the drama in the news? Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing, right? Money is my new higher power. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? Love and tolerance is my code. No way. It's more like slander and gossip is my code, right? Straight up. And I'm a spiritual man now, right? I go to meetings. I know who the spiritual giants are. I look at Donna and look at Brenda. I know they're spiritual giants. And then there's a few people in the corner and they're gossiping. I'm not a gossiper, Brenda. I'm a spiritual dude, right? And I'm going to go over to Brenda and I'm like, you check out those gossipers over there? And I'm gossiping about the gossipers. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? There's a phenomenon that happens. And it's called the recuperative powers of the ego, the resurrection of the ego. And it will come back in a shape that you don't even know. And it came back as Mr. Spiritual Man. Came out Mr. AA. What about Mr. AA Sponsor? Anyone get angry at their sponsees for not doing the work? I have. Until I wrote inventory. I had a powerful spiritual experience on column 1. You know what it said? I said, my sponsee. They got names. But I said my, like they belong to me. And I'm like, oh my God, they don't belong to me. I'm walking around in this place thinking that they belong to me. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? Man, I drove more people out of AA in the first 3 years of my recovery than I brought in. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? What was the final straw? The final straw was a snowstorm. I called out of work 5 days in advance. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? I knew it was going to snow. There was 2 feet of snow. I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm shaking, everybody. I'm trembling. Right? I was looking at I wasn't not thinking drink solution, drink answer. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking suicide solution, suicide answer. I was at the jumping off place in recovery. I listened to the story so much in my head that I believed it. And I wanted to take my own life. And I didn't realize that when I wanted to do that, I was trying to kill the wrong self. I didn't realize that until someone said that to me. So, I made a conscious decision to go through the steps. I did them in one day. Newsflash for anyone new here, it doesn't have to take you a year to do it. If your butt's on fire, you do the work. You do the work. I mean, you do anything. I'll roll around like a puppy if you want me to. I don't care. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. And part of my 5th step is out of fear that I couldn't get my wife pregnant because all of the outside issues and also the alcohol and all that stuff. And after I made my amends, I took a nap, Calvin. I took a nap. And I woke up and my wife comes and gives me a letter, tells me that she's pregnant. Right then and there, I was rocketed into the 4th dimension of existence. I couldn't even dream. And then my son, Phoenix James Fummerain, he was born on August 2nd, 2021. You know what's really cool about the 4th dimension is when you know when you're in it. Right? I was there, mind, body, spirit, all interlocked together as a way of life. With my wife, she had a very difficult pregnancy. Right? She had blood clots in her lungs. Her father died of blood clots. Her sister died of blood clots. They had 15 doctors. This is during COVID. I was there holding her hand, my head against her head. And all of a sudden we hear, wah. I can't do it with my voice. My son came out. And I was there. 4th dimension. I was there when he first stood up. 4th dimension. I was there when he first took his first poop. 4th dimension. I was there when he started to have curls. 4th dimension. I was there when he started to turn blonde. He has blonde hair. I started there. 4th dimension. I was there when he started to walk. I got it on video, by the way. My wife really hates that. 4th dimension. I'm a father today who shows up because of the actions that I've done in the past, based on my experience of the 12 steps that I really didn't want to do, has changed my life. I'm 1,000% convinced that God has a successful recycling business. I truly am. He takes trash, he turns it into treasure. He took me, a piece of trash, a tornado roaring through the lives of others, a victim of delusions and illusions, an unlovely creature, and he transformed me. He transformed me into a father that's only missed 3 days of his son's life. I'm going to see him tonight. I'm not going to make it 4 yet. All right, I'm going back to New York tonight. He made me into a husband who actually shows up for his wife, who actually is present for his wife, who actually, with my amends, it wasn't that great without the parental supervision of Prass, but this is year 3, I'm at Thanksgiving with her, right? And literally, year 3, I'm sitting with her, I'm seeing my mom and my brother, and they're super selfish and they're super self-centered, and I'm looking at my wife, I'm like, that's where I get it from. Like, they gave it to me. And she's like, Terry, they most likely will never change in their life, but you have. She texted me about 2 weeks ago. She says, I can't do this without you. Thank you. We have a son. He's autistic. He has level 3 autism. It ain't easy. But we're in it together with God's help. He has transformed me into someone who shows up when things are rough, when life is tough. Welcome back to the land of the living, everybody. He has transformed me into a friend. I mean, I had one of my friends who I made amends to. You know what I asked? Is there anything that I've done to you that I should know about? You know what he said, Brenda? He said, I counted how many times you said no to me. He said 247 times. I show up for him. He gave me a free truck. I started a junk removal business with this. I just texted him on the way down because we went to a concert at the PNC Bank Arts Center. He's like, anyone playing tonight? Let's go, let's go. I have relationships with people. My relationship with God is contingent upon my relationship with you. Right? I see God through the eyes of you. I see the faces of God. I can't be angry at a child of God. Then I'm going to have separation. He's transformed me into a man of forgiveness, a man of faith, and most importantly, a messenger of hope. My name is Thierry. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Thank you.